Bailey Zappe just walked into the starting job like it was reserve seating. The Cleveland Browns have made what might be the most confusing quarterback decision of the season, choosing a low-ceiling backup over a player once projected to lead the next generation of NFL talent. And it's not just that Zappe is starting. It's that Shedeur isn't even in the building metaphorically. No scout team snaps. No development reps. No mention in game prep. He's not QB2. He's not even QB3. He's just missing.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
The NFL has always had its fair share of head-scratching decisions, but this one doesn't feel like miscalculation. It feels deliberate. The Browns didn't just sideline Shedeur Sanders. They actively cut him out of the team's operational structure. Bailey Zappe didn't beat him in competition. There was no public battle, no preseason narrative. It's as if the Browns pre-decided to ghost their most high-profile young asset in favor of a plug-and-play option with zero long-term upside. From a talent management standpoint, it's an absolute meltdown. Shedeur is more than just a prospect. He's a brand, a walking media machine with generational upside. He didn't land in Cleveland to hold a clipboard. And now, the Browns are not only refusing to use him, they're making sure no one else can either. This isn't just poor leadership. It's football malpractice. It's like locking your best player in the basement, so no one else notices how badly you failed to build around him. Bailey Zappe isn't the problem. He's the symptom. The Browns have once again shown they're not a team interested in nurturing stars. They're a franchise built on panic decisions, internal politics, and short-term thinking. Giving Zappe the start while Shedeur disappears isn't just mismanagement. It's narrative sabotage. It's a signal that potential doesn't matter here. Visibility, politics, and chaos reign supreme. Unless Shedeur demands a trade, he's going to rot in a system that has already made its stance clear. He's not the plan. He's not even a contingency. He's just collateral damage in the Browns' never-ending experiment with dysfunction. Bailey Zappe is starting over Shedeur Sanders, and NFL fans are officially in meltdown mode. This isn't just a surprise move. It's a seismic shock to anyone who's been paying attention. The Cleveland Browns didn't just bench Shedeur. They wiped him off the map. No reps, no practice time, not even a scout team spot. One of the most talked about young quarterbacks in recent years has been completely sidelined, and fans aren't just confused, they're furious. You don't need to be a football expert to feel how off this is. Zappe's resume? Mediocre at best. Backup performances. Nothing to suggest he's the future of any franchise. And yet somehow he gets the nod, while Shedeur, once seen as a future face of the league, is left on the outside looking in. This isn't development. It's erasure. And the NFL community is watching in disbelief as Cleveland burns its own future down, one baffling decision at a time. This isn't just a case of a young QB losing out in a depth chart battle. This is the systematic removal of a player from all development pipelines. No scout teamwork means no reps. No reps means no growth. No growth means no future. The Browns didn't just demote Sanders. They've put a lid on his entire career trajectory, at least while he stays under their control. And it's not just the fans who are upset. Analysts, insiders, former players. They're all asking the same question. What is Cleveland doing? Because there's no football logic here. No performance metrics. No long-term strategy. Just chaos. And not the good kind. This feels deliberate. Like a move rooted in ego, politics, or power struggles. Not the needs of the team or the growth of the player. And that's what makes it even worse. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just a rookie with potential. He's a high-profile, marketable player with serious upside. He's exactly the kind of quarterback teams are supposed to build around. But Cleveland? They've chosen to sideline that potential and prioritize a quarterback whose ceiling is, at best, average. It's like putting a Ferrari in the garage, so you can keep test driving a used rental. The NFL has always been unpredictable, but this takes it to another level. This isn't bold or experimental. It's reckless. The Browns aren't coaching, they're self-sabotaging. And the message they're sending to Sanders is loud and clear. You're not part of this team's vision. You're not even in the conversation. So what exactly is the end game here? because nothing about this move screams development. There's no investment in Sanders' growth, no evidence of mentorship, no signs that the team is trying to prepare him for the future. It looks more like they're trying to freeze him out entirely, keep him off the field, out of the spotlight, and eventually out of the picture. And that's not just poor management. That's organizational failure. The NFL is built on development, on taking young talent and shaping it into something great. The Browns had the blueprint in their hands, and instead of following it, they lit it on fire. This is the kind of decision that doesn't just hurt one player. It damages the entire franchise. Because what message does this send to the locker room? To future draft picks? That your talent means nothing if the front office decides they're done with you? That no matter how much potential you have, you're only one ego clash away from being buried? It's not just about who's starting. It's about what kind of culture Cleveland is building, or rather, failing to build. And let's not pretend this is some isolated slip-up. The Browns have a long history of dysfunction. Quarterback turnover, coaching instability, management that talks about vision but operates on impulse. Sanders' situation isn't a one-off. It's a symptom of a larger disease. A culture of chaos where logic takes a backseat to spectacle. Because that's what the NFL is becoming. A spectacle. A reality show where football decisions are made for headlines, not wins. Where players are characters in a drama, and front offices play producers instead of leaders. The Sanders-Zappe situation doesn't feel like a football move. It feels like casting. And the fans are done with it. They can see what's happening. They're watching one of the league's most promising young quarterbacks get sidelined by a franchise that can't get out of its own way. And it's not just disappointing, it's infuriating. Because this could have been different. Sanders could have been the centerpiece of a rebuild, a reason to tune in, a face for the future. But instead, the Browns have taken that opportunity and buried it under layers of dysfunction and denial. And for Shedeur, the path forward is painfully obvious. He has to get out. Staying in Cleveland means staying invisible. And in the NFL, invisibility is a death sentence. Your value drops. Your reps disappear. Your future evaporates. He can't wait this out. He can't hope things change. The Browns have made their stance clear. They're not interested in building around him. They're not even interested in including him. And the longer he stays, the more damage is done, not just his career, but to how he's viewed across the league. Because whether fans like it or not, perception matters. And right now, the perception is that Sanders is a non-factor. Not because of anything he's done, but because of how Cleveland has chosen to treat him. That's the trap. And the only way out is a trade. There's no shame in leaving a bad situation. The NFL is ruthless. And when a team shows you they don't value you, you have to make a move. Sanders still has time. He still has upside. But that clock is ticking. And if he lets the season go by without demanding a change, he risks becoming another cautionary tale. A player with all the tools, all the presence, all the potential, wasted by a franchise that never really gave him a chance. And what about Bailey Zappe? It's not even about him. He's not the villain here. He's just the decoy, the distraction. The Browns have put him in a role he was never meant to fill, and now he's the face of a decision that fans will never forget. It's not fair to him, and it's not fair to Sanders. But it's the situation Cleveland created, and now they have to own it. This is what happens when dysfunction runs the show. When long-term development is tossed aside for short-term control. When talented players are buried because they don't fit into whatever bizarre power structure is playing out behind the scenes. Sanders' best move now is to reclaim control of his own narrative, demand a trade, get to a team that knows how to develop, a team that actually wants him on the field, not in the background. Because Cleveland isn't just wasting a season, they're wasting a career. And if you're a fan watching this, it's hard not to feel frustrated. Because this isn't what football is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about building, competing, growing, not politics, not erasure, not chaos for the sake of chaos. So here we are, a quarterback with all the potential in the world, erasing the game by a franchise that still can't figure out how to get out of its own way. And a fan base left wondering how long they'll have to watch this mess unfold before someone steps in and fixes it. If you've been watching this disaster in Cleveland and shaking your head, you're not alone. Let me know in the comments. Should Shedeur Sanders demand a trade? And which team should give him the shot he deserves? And if you're as tired of the NFL circus act as we are, hit that subscribe button. Because this isn't the last meltdown we're going to cover. Not by a long shot. The chaos keeps coming, and we'll be right here for every moment of it. Shedeur Sanders needs to leave the Cleveland Browns. Not tomorrow. Not at the end of the season. Now. Because what's happening isn't just mismanagement. It's career sabotage in slow motion. You don't bury your most valuable asset on the depth chart without a reason. You don't freeze out your high-potential rookie from scout team reps unless there's something bigger at play. And no matter how the Browns try to spin it, the decision to start Bailey Zappe over Shedeur Sanders screams dysfunction louder than any press conference ever could. This wasn't about who earned it. It wasn't about performance. Because let's be real, Zappe hasn't done anything to earn the role of QB1. His tape is average. His upside is non-existent. He's the definition of a placeholder, a guy who's there to keep the seat warm until the future is ready to step in. But in Cleveland, the future doesn't get a chance. The future gets benched. And Shedeur isn't even benched in the normal way. He's not just a backup. He's not just being developed. He's been erased. No scout team. No reps. No visibility. Nothing. The Browns aren't managing their quarterback room. They're silencing it. And Sanders is the one taking the hit. So what's the motive? Because there's no football logic here. You don't draft a quarterback with a national spotlight, brand power, and legitimate upside, only to stick him on the shelf while a journeyman takes snaps on Sundays. That's not strategy. That's intentional sidelining. And it's not just damaging to Sanders. It's reckless for the entire organization. Cleveland had a chance to build something. They had a quarterback who could have energized a locker room, brought in fans, and maybe, just maybe, brought stability to a franchise that's been allergic to it for decades. But instead of building, they burned it all down and called it a football decision. Let's stop pretending this is normal. Quarterback development doesn't happen in the shadows. It happens on the field, in the film room, in scout team reps. And when a franchise refuses to include a young quarterback in those environments, it's not a sign of patience. It's a warning flare. They're not waiting for him to blossom. They're actively preventing it. You want proof? Look at every great quarterback story in the league. They didn't start by being buried. They started by being built. Mahomes, developed behind a vet, but still involved. Jalen Hurts, got opportunities. Earned reps, grew into the system. Jordan Love, sat behind Rodgers, but got groomed by the coaching staff. Shedeur Sanders, he's not being groomed. He's being ghosted. The longer this goes on, the clearer it becomes. Cleveland doesn't have a plan for him. Or if they do, it doesn't involve him ever touching the field. And if that's the case, Sanders has no choice but to take matters into his own hands. Demand a trade. Break free. Because there is no upside to staying in a system designed to erase your value. And let's talk about value. Because Sanders isn't just a football player. He's a brand. He's a marketable face. A guy who can move the needle for a franchise, not just on the scoreboard, but in ticket sales, media attention, and cultural relevance. The kind of presence that matters especially in today's NFL, where visibility is currency. But Cleveland is treating him like he's invisible. Like all of that potential means nothing. And in doing so, they're not just killing his short-term career. They're damaging his long-term value across the league. Because once the perception sets in that a player couldn't cut it, it's almost impossible to shake. That's why every rep matters. Every scout team throw. Every opportunity to be seen, to be evaluated, to show something. But Sanders isn't even allowed to participate, which means the rest of the league only has Cleveland's silence to go off of. And that silence, it's loud. This is how promising careers collapse before they even begin. Not because the player isn't good enough, but because the franchise they landed with didn't know what to do with them. Or worse, didn't want to know. Let's not sugarcoat it. The Browns have a track record here. Quarterback graveyard is putting it mildly. From overhyped draft bust to veterans tossed into the fire with no protection, the team has never handled its quarterback situation with any sort of consistency or clarity. Sanders isn't the first to get caught in their dysfunction. He's just the latest. And the saddest part? He never even got a chance to fail. He didn't throw interceptions in games. He didn't melt down under pressure. He didn't bomb a preseason. He's being written off before he even stepped on the field. That's not a fair shot. That's a trap. The Browns are running this like a reality show. Decisions made behind closed doors. Power plays disguised as football calls. And players left to deal with the fallout while the front office hides behind generic talking points about competition and system fit. But everyone sees through it. The fans see through it. The analysts see through it. And other players, they definitely see through it. This is the kind of move that erodes trust, not just from the player affected, but from everyone watching. Because if this can happen to Shedeur Sanders, who's next? This isn't just about one quarterback. This is about a culture, a league that's starting to treat its young talent like disposable content, where development is replaced with silence, where potential is squandered because it doesn't fit someone's ego trip or PR strategy. Sanders deserves better. And more than that, he needs better if he wants to survive in this league. Because one year like this, it can derail everything. The NFL is unforgiving. The window of opportunity is narrow. And if you don't fight for your spot, someone else will take it, and your name fades fast. So if there's anyone in Shedeur's camp with sense, they're already working the phones, looking for a franchise with a real plan, a coaching staff that values development, a system that actually wants a quarterback with upside and presence. Because Cleveland has shown what they're about, and it's not growth. Staying means watching your future get smaller and smaller every week. Staying means letting this narrative stick, that you're not ready, that you're not the guy, that Zappe somehow was a better option. And once that narrative hardens, good luck shaking it. He has to go, and not just for himself, for the league. Because if players like Shedeur Sanders can be erased this easily, then the entire structure of the NFL's so-called meritocracy starts to crack. You can't preach opportunity while actively killing it behind the scenes. The Browns are running a circus, and Shedeur is stuck in the clown car. It's time to step out. Let this be the end of the erasure. Let this be the moment he chooses himself over the chaos. Because if he doesn't, the NFL will do what it always does to forgotten rookies. It'll move on. Fast. So where should he land? That's up for debate. But the answer is simple. Anywhere but Cleveland. Because anywhere else, he has a chance. To grow. To prove. To develop. In Cleveland, he has no path forward. Only a slow fade to irrelevance while Bailey Zappe soaks up reps like it's 2017. There's no redemption arc here unless Sanders makes one. Right now, Shedeur Sanders is sitting on the sidelines. Worse, he's not even in the frame, while Bailey Zappe takes a feel like this is some kind of alternate timeline where quarterback merit doesn't matter. A timeline where potential is punished, where silence is strategy, and where teams like the Cleveland Browns rewrite history in real time, pretending their decisions make sense when the rest of the football world knows they absolutely do not. This is not how you develop a franchise quarterback. This is how you break one. Shedeur didn't lose a QB battle. He was never allowed to fight in it. He wasn't outplayed. He was locked out. And that distinction matters because it tells you everything about Cleveland's priorities. This isn't about football. This is about control. About keeping the spotlight where they want it, even if it means lighting the future of the franchise on fire just to prove a point. And the fact that Zappe is the guy they're going all in on, that tells you how unserious this team is about winning. This isn't a calculated gamble. It's a franchise swinging wildly in the dark, hoping no one notices the blood on the walls. But we do. Everyone does. The fans, the analysts, the league. Everyone is watching this slow-moving disaster, and we're all asking the same question. How'd we get here? How did a team take a player like Shedeur Sanders, marketable, media-ready, mentally sharp, and physically gifted, and decide, nah, we're good. Let's run it back with Zappe. How did that meeting go? Did someone raise their hand and ask what the actual plan was? Did anyone in the room push back when the decision was made to strip a young QB of all reps, all exposure, all chances to grow? Or did they all just nod, as they've done for years, while the Browns march toward another season of dysfunction disguised as strategy? Because this is the Cleveland way, right? Build hype, sabotage it internally, then act shocked when all goes off the rails. It's been their cycle for years. And now, Shedeur Sanders is the latest name on the casualty list. A name that should be lighting up headlines, drawing viewers, anchoring a rebuild. And instead, he's been reduced to a footnote in one of the most senseless quarterback decisions in recent memory. This isn't just a bad call. This is malpractice. And it sets a dangerous tone for what kind of league this is becoming. One where the game takes a backseat to bizarre internal politics. Where talent gets buried, not because it failed, but because someone decided it didn't fit the narrative they were building. And once that happens, there's no press conference in the world that can clean it up. Shedeur's only real option is to leave before the damage becomes irreversible. Because the longer he stays, the more that silence grows. And in the NFL, silence isn't neutral. It's deadly. If you're not getting reps, you're not getting better. And if you're not getting better, someone else is. Someone less talented, less prepared, but more politically aligned with the people making decisions. And once that cycle starts, it's almost impossible to break. He has to break it now. Force a trade. Force the conversation. Make Cleveland explain why they drafted him just to disappear him. Make them answer for the way they've treated a quarterback with actual value, like he's a practice squad placeholder. Because if Shedeur stays quiet, the narrative will be shaped for him, and right now, it's already starting to slip out of his hands. The NFL is a league of narratives. If you're not being talked about, you're being replaced. And if you're not on the field, you're falling behind. Shedeur Sanders still has time. Time to find a franchise that sees what Cleveland refuses to. Time to restart his development. Time to reclaim the path that led fans and scouts to label him as the future face of the league. But that window is closing. Fast. And Cleveland? They'll keep doing what they've always done. Fumbling opportunities and blaming the fallout on everything but themselves. Let them sit with this one. Let them explain to their fan base why they chose dysfunction over development, why they threw away the chance to build around a player with real presence and potential. Because one thing's clear, Shedeur Sanders deserves better than this. If you agree, drop a comment. Let us know where you think he should go and what team could actually give him the opportunity he deserves. And if you're not already subscribed, now's the time, because this saga is far from over, and the NFL's chaos machine, it never stops.